Jim decided to install an update between the time we started at 7 and the time we restarted at 7:45.
I'm here.
Yay, now we just need Joyce to come back.
Did you say something?
That was just.
Sorry about that, guys. You there, Joyce?
I think it was Kat's fault. She's the one that evicted you.
I'm here. It took me a couple of minutes. So can we pick up and move on to anything else on dark sky or the lighting?
I'm afraid to look. I had nothing else on lighting.
Anyone else, Kevin or Kat?
I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought the whole letter was great, Joyce.
Oh, thank you.
These are just
The next item was landscaping. And in that text, I pointed out both the opportunity and threat that could happen, and a couple of bullets about using natives, prohibiting hybrids and cultivars, and maximizing tree preservation. Any edits there? Hearing none, I will move on. Parking, here I tied to the conservation land as because of the visibility and proximity affecting visitors' experience, and called for the lower ratio.
I had an additional reason for it too.
Okay,
Because the lighting will require, the parking will require lighting. So the further the parking spaces are away from the conservation land, the less impact of that lighting traveling to the conservation land. So it's not just the walkers, but it's also, it will reduce the lighting needs.
is everyone okay with that addition?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I had an edit in your first bullet.
Okay.
The proposed ratio of parking spaces to housing units is 1.9.
Oh yeah, I see I have extra words.
No, I don't care about the extra words. You can fix that, but at the site walk, we were told it could be reduced to 1.7. And that means 12 fewer spaces. Didn't we go over that at the meeting? I'm pretty sure we did.
We did. It says the same thing here. Reducing that by just 0.2 is 1.7.
Right, but it doesn't say that they said they could reduce it to 1.7.
Oh, okay, could. Okay,
We're not asking them to. They said they could, which is a little bit different. Where did we come up with that
I
number?
understand. Yeah.
And that's 12 fewer spaces, and those spaces should be removed closest to the conservation land, being a bigger buffer.
Okay. Anything else on parking?
Yeah.
The next section was educational signs. And I included the one about picking up dog waste and control of dogs, but I forgot to include a bullet also about signage, which I think we talked about because it would be a new entree point there that would have the, like the rules of the, like, stay on trails, you know, that sign that we have, the rules of the conservation land, that should also be a bullet here. So I was gonna add that. Anything else to add?
Well, I had a comment on that. And I don't know. So I thought we were asking for them to put signs on their property before people
Oh.
entered. And that was specific to the 40B, I mean, to the, and we had discussed no bike riding is allowed at Breakneck Hill. And the dog waste should be picked up, and that they should have a dog waste receptacle on their own property. That you know, so that they're not, like, if they come over that part of the property and they don't walk all the way out to one of the trails, where they're gonna take the dog waste, right? So there should be a pickup spot on their land. Didn't we discuss that?
I don't know if that we discussed it with that much specificity, but I can add that. So that's more than signage, that's also receptacle for dog waste. So maybe this header isn't really about educational signs, it's about, it's more about dogs and dog waste.
Well, I also thought I thought we discussed having something that no bike riding is allowed.
I guess, why would we limit the sign to no bike riding and not just have it be all the prohibitions on the conservation land?
That
Yes,
wouldn't
it's
be
all-
up to them, that's up to us to put it on our land. And I thought we were going to, I thought this was asking for some specific issues, because they're, you know, obviously this is being advertised because of the dog washing room in the dog park and a bike storage room. It's being advertised as a place to live with dogs and bikes. And
Oh, I
um,
see.
it wasn't so much, yeah, they have to comply with all the laws, but here's a new, likely a potential highly negative impact to the conservation land. Like, didn't we discuss that there's no bike riding down Route 9? So where are they going to ride their bikes in that bike storage room? They should know that it's not an allowed use.
Yeah.
I thought we
Kevin-
discussed it, but maybe we didn't.
No, I don't, I guess I remember talking about the bike room and the dog room and stuff, but I didn't remember this specifically, which is why the letter doesn't reflect it this specifically. Kevin, were you trying to say something too?
I do remember it being vaguely discussed, but I didn't remember the details either. So
We're not, if we decide we don't like this, we don't put it in, but we can also we're not stuck to what we discussed last time if this is something new.
Right. Oh, right. No, I understand that. Yeah, I'm okay with calling, like, I'm in favor of it. Like, pointing out that if a selling point of the property is bicycle storage, yet we want there to be an understanding that bicycles are not allowed on the trails at Breakneck Hill. And then the stuff about signage for the dogs and no bike riding and dog waste. I mean, it's like sort of a couple of different things now. Or is everyone in favor of those couple of different things?
yeah, it makes sense.
Kat? Is Kat muted?
Yeah, I've been talking the whole time on mute. Yes, I agree.
It goes.
Okay, so I will, do you want to come up with the language together here? Or are you guys comfortable with me reflecting that in a reconsidered bullets?
I'm okay with what you want to take on, Joyce.
Okay. Access to trails is the next block.
Yeah, I have a
Um,
bullet point before that. I think we
for
discussed,
that.
there's a historic stone wall that is the property line, so it belongs, at least half of it belongs to the conservation land. And that shouldn't be disturbed during construction. At the site walk, they said they wouldn't disturb it. And that goes down to the next sentence about access to trails. So I had a bullet point that this historic stone wall needs to be preserved during construction and not altered. And then it goes to the access to trails, which is the next bullet point. And I thought we should have something like, not if built as proposed. I crossed that sentence out and wrote, the stewards want to encourage the new residents to use the conservation land. I mean, after all this blah, 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 I mean, I think that might be first before the no dog walking and no bicycling. You know, we want to encourage them. There is a historic stone wall we don't want disturbed. Therefore, one access point is mandatory for the break in the stone walls. Whatever else you had listed there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm gonna get confused on the order because I thought we were gonna do that last, but I understand your point.
Well, I didn't want to, I just think it's important that we be in this sentence here where we're talking about access to trails, that we be encouraging that we're welcoming our new neighbors if they get built. Right? If the project moves forward, we want to welcome the new neighbors to the conservation land and encourage them.
Right,
Mhm.
otherwise they'll be breaking down the wall in lots of places to get in, and
But
let's
it's not-
make it easy.
Aside from the stone wall and entrance, I just wanted to say something like we don't hate them. It's not the people we're against.
We don't hate them.
It's the development that close to the conservation land. Has anyone walked down there and looked at the stakes? I described it as you'll be able to hear the people in their apartments.
Yeah, I've seen the stakes on that back
It's close.
trail. It's close. The first time I saw them, I didn't know what they were.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. We'll be able to hear them if they're gargling.
Yeah.
It's
All
close.
right, any concerns about that? Adding something about protecting the historic stone wall?
No, please.
But
And
that was separate. And then,
as I understand, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, a first bullet of concern about protecting the stone wall, and then a second bullet about access to trail.
But encouraging them to,
Yes,
that wasn't there. I just think we don't want to be the mean.
right. Yeah, no, I wrote it in my
Okay.
paper copy. Okay, invasive prevention was the next block. Any changes there?
None from me.
Got nothing.
Yeah, that was good.
Great, and then I wasn't sure how to refer to the balloon and lighting demonstration. So I just I just made up my own language as best I could from the minutes and stuff. So I didn't know if it was clear. And if we need changes.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so that, unless there's more things to add, why don't we talk, well, we can talk about the last paragraph if there's any any changes where I'm just saying, this is our stuff to date. We unanimously oppose the location. And thank you for your consideration. So I guess I'd like some discussion about what's the best order for these to go in.
Can I suggest, because I've thought about it a little,
Yes.
I would put the wetlands and running water up top. Then the town, I mean, I think the flow was pretty good, except for maybe I would put the deer next to the invasive species issues. I think ending with a balloon is good because it's sort of maybe a little bit of a fluff thing. I don't know. It certainly has value for the abutters and for, but I didn't have a real concern over the flow beyond. Don't start with the deer up front. I think
Yeah,
the wetlands,
elevate the wetlands and running water.
yeah, and then I would, maybe before any, yeah, and then the parking, yeah. So those are all landscaping after parking, maybe. I don't even care beyond that. I just wanted to be sure that there was some place that we sounded welcoming to the new residents.
Yeah, no, I think that's legit. Kevin or Kat, any ideas on order different from or in addition to elevating wetlands and running water?
No additions.
Deer down at the bottom would be a good idea.
I'm sorry, what was that, Kevin?
Moving the deer down to the bottom would definitely be a good idea.
Okay, yeah. Maybe deer at the bottom, maybe invasives and light stuff kind of after wetlands and water, because those are all, very near and dear to the habitat stuff.
I would add the deer right after the invasive species. It's a control habitat management thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then end with the balloons, I guess.
Okay, that gives me something to work with. Oh, and we're adding, yeah, and then there'll be one added on the historic stone wall. And then of course, access will go in there before balloons. Okay. I think I have it. Any other discussion on this? And can we have maybe a motion that I can, actually, I do want to talk about one more thing with it. Last time we talked about sending it to Mass Housing Authority, to Conservation Commission and the Select Board. Is there anybody else on that list we should send it to?
So that was Select Board, Housing Authority, and who?
Conservation Commission.
Thank you.
We had talked about sending it to the planning board.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I remembered, but it wasn't in last minutes and I couldn't remember if I remembered right. So those four?
Yeah, the reason for the planning board is because they also have a permitting role that even though it will get waived, probably they will review some of the things we're talking about, and it might be beneficial to them to have our input.
I think it's mostly the ZBA that's going to be getting this. I don't think planning gets this at all if it's a 40B.
I don't know the exact, but I remember they weighed in on the Park Central and
Yeah, that was the 40A part. That was the whole residual site
Oh,
plan.
so then I'm
mess.
mistaken
Yeah.
there. So why are they writing a letter if they don't get to weigh in?
They're allowed to weigh in with their opinion, but they're not part of the permitting process. So
I think they are a part of this process because the variance requires they go in front of the planning board. The variance requires that they can't put a building on there without getting either an A&R or a subdivision, which is not a 40B exempt requirement to create a lot. So they actually are at the front end.
So the first application that 40Bs have to go through is zoning board of appeals for the comprehensive permit. And that sets the what gets waived and what does not get waived. So I recommend sending it to ZBA. I think when the comprehensive permit application is submitted, you'll get another notification. Essentially, Concom gets notified, and just like planning can weigh in with their opinion, Concom does as well. So that's another point where you weigh in where it kind of matters in terms of what gets built, because the zoning board is the one who issues that initial decision. Mass housing, this preliminary approval just means that they can apply to zoning board for their comprehensive permit. It doesn't mean that this project as it is proposed right now would be built, or anything would be waived per se. It's just okay to move forward. This is a viable 40B in terms of your application that you submitted.
Does Concom send to ZBA their comment as well?
So once they submit to ZBA, we're going to have similar but more in-depth, hopefully, comments, because they would have to, I believe, have more engineering plans that we would be able to review, because right now they don't have any specs, they don't have any drainage, they don't have stormwater. That's just kind of how it looks on paper.
So I'm just curious that I thought we would be weighing into ZBA later, but you think we should send this now?
No, you still will have that opportunity. But if you want to give them a heads up of what might be coming, this would be a good avenue to do. Not to say we shouldn't send it to planning as well. It's just an FYI, since everyone is sending in their comments applicable to their department. But when it goes to ZBA, you guys will have the same plus probably some additional ones, because you'll have kind of more in-depth plans of what the actual building and site layout will realistically look like, and those physical calculations and parking and all of that jazz.
Okay.
So then I would say we would send to Mass Housing, Concom, ZBA, Planning, and Select Board. Like, what's the harm in letting them all know that we have this vested interest and that we care and that we want to be in the loop?
I think that's consistent as like all permitting boards. That's kind of usually how it goes. We all share with within each other.
Thank you for the suggestion, Melissa. That sounds good to me.
Others? Yeah. Okay. All right. So, can I have a motion to approve it with the edits we discussed?
I'll make a motion to approve sending this letter to the groups we just discussed as edited, giving Joyce the authority to write it up based on our discussion. Is that a motion?
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Kevin?
Yes.
Kat?
Yes.
Freddie?
I'm in flavor.
And I also support it, so the motion passes. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, you guys. I'm gonna try and get this out tomorrow. Melissa, I might need a little help from you on that front, but we'll get it. I'll make those changes after this meeting. So
Can I ask, before you move on, is anyone from this committee planning on attending the selectmen's open forum on this topic?
I would love to, but I'm gonna be on the trails with a weed eater tomorrow during the meeting. So I
Wait,
can't.
what?
I'm gonna be doing trail maintenance tomorrow.
Oh, I thought you said a leader. I don't know what
I
that
think
was.
the weather may
Oh,
eclipse you.
ooh, exciting. Exciting day
get-
off.
really bad thunderstorms.
Oh, is that what's coming through the
Yeah,
south right
the
now?
storm that's been south of us is coming to us tomorrow.
They said that has some hurricane force gale gusts.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, let me just
You
check.
may not be on the trails. I'm gonna try and go. I'm in Boston tomorrow. So I usually don't get home till 6, but it's my intention to go.
I will be there, but I wasn't hoping to say anything about stewardship.
Yeah.
So I'm
think-
hoping,
I have a conflict in the evening, so I won't be able to make it.
Oh, I see. Well,
um,
All right, well, let's go over a couple other things. The next thing on the agenda was invasive work, and Freddie shared some information that she learned about Tree of Heaven and how to best treat it. If you had a chance to look at it, I looked at it, and also it's funny, from an entirely separate source, recently read the same thing about Tree of Heaven, which is one of our very bad invasives that's in that farm dump area. And treating it now by harming the bark and putting some herbicide helps. And now is the time of year that it can make a difference. If it's just chopped down in the fall or winter, it's very likely to resprout, but treating it August, September. Am I capturing that essentially correctly, Freddie?
yeah, Nick, who is our meadow guy, called me up concerned about that when I had mentioned the Tree of Heaven in that area, because we were talking to him about a seed mix, and he said we should do it, and it could be done and not interfere at all with, if we do it this week or next week, maybe even the week after, we'll have enough time not to interfere with the work of the farm dump project, so that the trees could be treated, and then if they're, when they cut them down, we won't be faced, because we don't know if they're going to remove all the soil or not. And if they don't remove all the soil, we will be stuck with lots and lots and lots of regenerating Tree of Heaven is the potential.
so what was
Doesn't.
was it to treat it in the fall versus whenever? What was that you were saying?
There's no treat it like this week or next week. I mean, next week or the week after, as soon as I can get someone out there.
Oh,
We have 2 companies to choose from, whichever one can come, I would say. Because it has to be done now so that it can be dead before they cut them down.
oh, that's it. It has to be dead before cut.
Yeah,
Or out.
like you kind of do something to the bark and then treat inside the tree, and so it gets absorbed, so that by the time it's cut down, it won't regenerate.
It gets absorbed into the roots, and then if you don't do this, otherwise it will resprout.
So
Lots of sprouting.
can we have a motion to proceed on that?
So moved.
All in favor?
What is
Kevin?
the estimated cost? Do we have a sense? Motion to proceed. Tire.
No idea.
Address.
It can't be that bad, but if it's got to be done, we have, invasive money, money to do invasive work that, this just came up.
Someone want a second? I moved.
Okay,
All in favor, Kevin?
yes,
Pat?
Yes.
Freddie?
Yep.
And myself, yes, the motion passes. Ecology, is there anything more on that for this meeting, Freddie? On invasives?
Yeah, on invasives, yeah, we are, at our last meeting, we agreed to do some work, and we had a proposal that was a rough draft proposal. I don't know that I shared that. And the committee decided that they needed to, because of the dollar amount, we have to get weigh in with other companies, and we needed to do outreach to 3 companies. So that was one from LSI. I reached out to J&J, who does our mowing, and they're not in that type of invasive work. And I reached out, they do some, but not at this level and not near wetlands at all. They will not touch it. And then the third one is how do I say it? Patier.
Terry or something.
Yeah, I spent 3.5 hours out on Breakneck Hill with their consultant last week.
How do I closely pronounce, how do I look that up to know how to spell it for the minutes?
I can send it to you when we get off the call.
Is it based in New England?
Cambridge, I think.
Is it Patier Landscaping or something? What is it? Any?
Bill Ricca, I don't know where they are. They moved from Cambridge. I can
Oh.
send it to you after the call. I really don't have anything better to say. If I leave this screen to look it up, I'm going to be off this call again, so.
Yep.
And Politan is coming out this week or next week to do the work that we had originally agreed to have them do for the project with purple loosestrife and the creeping buttercup. So that will start. Was that a 5-year project? I forget what, but and that was part of that proposal. And my understanding is that there is no way that I can't say the name of the company correctly. They're very expensive and they don't really do landscape restoration, although I thought they did. There aren't many companies out there that do this work. So
Chris Politan's work, is that a one scope? You said it was over 5 years. Do we have a budget or a estimate on the cost on that?
it's per work done. That's how we've always hired them. They gave us an estimate I presented last meeting, which was a draft. If we want to contract with them, you can expect 25% more.
If we want to contract with them, what do you mean?
We've
25%?
always hired them to come out and they do the work, and then we pay them for the hours that they work.
Oh, hourly versus something else.
Versus contract.
Okay.
They gave us an estimate. It was a draft. You had it from last week, but that is dependent on how many workers, how many days. You can never tell.
Oh, the 21,000 to manage invasives of creeping buttercup, autumn, olive, bittersweet, and purple loosestrife. Got it.
This is just one portion of that, but we already agreed for the whole thing, but that's not how I had to make the phone calls. So we haven't gone back on everything else. Okay. Was there? I don't think there's a vote or anything needed on that. Is
No.
there?
No,
Just
we
gonna
voted
be
last
an
time.
update.
Yeah. So you're just saying they're moving forward with the management.
Yeah.
In the next few weeks.
As soon as possible.
Okay.
But with the rain, this is what happens with the rain. You know, it pushes things back.
Yes.
That's why we get a lower rate, because, you know, we're not a. What was the next item, Joyce?
Ecology and pollinator gardens.
Yeah, I forget what that was.
Okay, we can either circle back or talk about it next time. Is there any update on the meadow install? I know we've had trouble finding the equipment. The town was gonna use a disc harrow, and their tractor is not heavy enough to manage that disc harrow. So that has been kind of a bust. I had one feeler out to somebody I knew, have not heard back. Freddie's been trying to find others. Anything new there, Freddie?
I'm waiting to hear back from Nick. Our Meadow guy has a feeler out, and Chris Paladin has somebody he knew that might be able to do it. I haven't heard back yet. I don't know why I thought that. Oh, I asked that Bill Ricca company. I thought they might have the ability, and they don't.
Yeah, so it's a disappointment that it's been so hard to manage that. I included farm dump, but I didn't know if there was anything new. We did get that input to Melissa that she needed right away.
Well, there was some additional info because, and then I guess Melissa already was prepared for that, but we didn't know that we asked Nick to recommend a seed mix, because I don't know if the committee knew that we had asked for a custom mix, but that doesn't work for the bid. They have to have a set, defined seed mix. So Joyce and I were going to look at what was at New England Wetland Plants and recommend one of those. And then when I was talking to Nick to see if he had some recommendations, he said that by the time this starts, you're not going to be able to seed, so that they'll be doing a cover crop if they can even get that to grow in time. So that, and I think Melissa said there could be some other soil stabilization over the winter. And then if I'm getting this wrong, Melissa, please correct me. But then in the spring, there could possibly be another cover crop, depending on when it gets done. And then Nick said, just like with the meadow, you can't just throw down soil seed and expect it to come in the native seed that we want, because either the soil is going to be existing soil with all of the invasive seeds from that area that we want to let grow and then mow and then sort of get so that the soil would accept the seed, or they bring in soil if they have to take it out. And as we ran into in the Ecology Research Garden, that will also have seeds, weed seeds in it. They don't come weed seed free. So it may be best to plan for the cover crop, but in case they can plant it, we'll give a seed mix to Melissa. I think that's the plan of action.
Yeah, and she mostly needed an estimate of price just for the bid thing. So I think, yeah. And then the last item on the agenda that I included was, it is now the time of year per our local bluebird expert, John Carla, who I've met a couple of times through the native plant gardening efforts, that come August, we talked about this, it is a good time to clean out the bluebird boxes. So, maybe I'll get out there someday soon to do that. It's Kevin will remind me, because he and I did it last time. Didn't we need to have some little tool or something?
We did need a screwdriver for a few of them. I think the Kestrel box
And the Kestrel
was a
box
little more
we needed.
advanced.
Yeah, and we now have a laddery type of thing that hopefully is enough to help us with the Kestrel box, and it needed maybe like a wrench or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know who's around the next couple of weekends, but if I put out a call for a site walk, if anybody wanted to help do that, we have it's very quick when you go up to the bluebird box. You just open them and scoop the stuff out pretty much. But the Kestrel box, I think I would probably need a couple of people because we'd have to carry up that little ladder thing that we bought. So
I'll have to look it up, but I think the Audubon Society recommended a 10% bleach solution too, to kind of sterilize it a little bit for next year. I don't know if that's something we wanted to do, or we skipped it last time, but
we did skip it, but it would not be hard because we could just put a 10% bleach solution in a little spray bottle to carry out. It would seem to be real easy. So thanks for reminding me about that. And actually, I know I might have to just do a little research on when to empty out the Kestrel box, because it may not be the same time as the Bluebird box.
Yeah, my understanding is it's been habitated by the
Sparrows, English
the
sparrows.
non-native English sparrows that kill the bluebirds. I don't know if we should look into if there's a way to prevent them from going in, but I don't know. I had something back on the meadow before you move on.
Oh, okay. So that was it on Bluebird boxes that I'd put a call out maybe on the weekend to see if anyone wants to go out and help me do that. But yeah, okay, Freddie Meadow.
Yeah, well, it was, or maybe it's the ecology and pollinator gardens. And Joyce knows about this one. The ecology research meadow at the corner of the North Pasture and you know, that corner has come in with a lot of beautiful plants that we were very pleased to have right now. The bee balm, and Dr. Jagir requested a trail put in there, and Joyce was weed whacked it so that you can walk through there, and it is worth your time to take a walk through there and see dozens of swallowtails. He said he counted 10 Bombus vagans in there one day, which is a pretty impressive number of the at-risk bumblebee. He's hoping for a Fervidus, but so that is a success right now, and the trail being put through there means people get to walk through there. And just while we were there, Joyce started talking to somebody walking by. There's some birders and butterflies who are going to help us collect information and offer to give maybe for next spring a bird walk for us. So there's always value, and we're not just planting this and not knowing anything, but getting data collection. And so that was the big probably a really significant thing that happened, finding them, but also getting the trail through the ecology meadow.
Yeah, it is just a little cut into the field, and it is really something being in there amidst all that bee balm and seeing all those bees and butterflies. It's really, really pretty.
And then just back to the farm dump thing, a couple of other comments. Joyce and I talked with Melissa about before the construction starts to actually stake out and put the orange fence protection around the meadow, the ecology research meadow. And then when I was out there on that site walk, they pointed out some really nice native trees in the habitat that they're going to be maybe clear cutting. So Melissa suggested that we flag them. So when I go out to look for or to hire to show whoever's going to do the Tree of Heaven work, that we can flag those trees as well. Ask them to flag the native trees if we can't get out there ourselves. There's some, I guess, 3 or more really nice red maples. So if they don't have to come down, if they have to come down for the project, that's one thing. But we were talking about just clear cutting that area of all the invasives, and there's some nice trees in there in addition to the invasives. I think that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was our agenda for tonight. I know this was pretty quick after the last meeting, but we had some time limitations for that letter on the proposed development. So that was a big priority. So thank you all for getting your comments and having that discussion to help me finalize that. And yeah, I would make a motion that we adjourn at
Ruth,
8:30.
I did have one quick thing on the, I guess it's roadside meadow related, but Russ Gregory from Concom had asked if we could place the no spray signs near the basically the telephone poles and stuff, so that the town can basically keep the invasives back along the roadway there for
Oh,
mowing.
so move them essentially.
Yeah, so maybe if we go out to clean out some bird boxes, I can bring a sledgehammer.
Actually, those ones were really easy to put in. I found
Okay.
it harder on Woodland Road to get them in. The ones on Brignick Hill went in really easy for me. But yeah, if you want to try and get by and move them, or when we go out and do the bluebird boxes, absolutely we can move them. It was pretty quick.
Yeah, no, I think I was out of town and I saw the text go in and I was like, we had to get out there now. So
Yeah, I was
I wasn't going to
actually,
criticize. But
oh no, it was fine. I ran out one evening and Kat ran out and got one. I think on her end of the forest. And now there's one on Woodland Road that I got in Sunday, but then I had to rush off for a family thing and didn't get the others in. So yeah, we can get that done I can certainly try and do that in the next couple of days or by the weekend, but I will put out a call on the bird boxes and then that could be just like, we could do all those things. So thanks for I think actually someone may have mentioned that last year too. I don't remember. I was just trying to find a spot I could stick them in. So we'll do our best to get them closer to telephone poles.
I have a question though, for next year or later to consider that, is it really the steward's job to do this? You know, we have a policy to get it done, but like, like Recreation Commission isn't out mowing the rec fields or spray painting them. Something like getting these signs out that's critically important. I don't know that it's, just up to us to do that.
Seems like a natural fit, though. Who else would be suited for it? Freddie, do you have a suggestion?
Town has departments and departments have staff. I don't know, but there's just I'm not going to go out and put the signs out. So if you guys don't mind doing it, fine. But I'm feeling that this committee is, needs to reevaluate our workload because work needs to get done. But, I'm basically operating like a project manager on numerous accounts. And, I don't know that, if I can't do it, no one else can. You can't get out there and meet these people during the day. That's when they come out, 3.5 hours last week, 20 hours a few weeks ago. I mean, it adds up. The work doesn't get done if somebody's not there managing and overseeing. Project manager, we've gone through this before, but we need to start to think about a process that's different besides us doing all the labor. And I'm just saying there's other committees that aren't, when they have work to be done, they're not doing the hard labor. So it's just something to think about for the future.
Yeah, for this week, I think we'll be doing the signs and the labor, but I agree that there's limits on how much we can take on as volunteers in a committee. And I don't know the answer, but we can keep trying to come up with a better solution.
You know, just if we don't manage the invasives, right, it goes back to the way it was in 2003. No doubt about it. And, you know, because we had a few skipped years, because of COVID and then them not having employees and all of that, it's a bigger project now than it had been, right? That means it's more time. I have to go out there every single time and meet the people that are coming to work there. And some of them I have to stay there the entire time they work. And I have to make the numerous phone calls and emails and phone calls and texts and emails. It's not a minor obligation. And I do it because the work is important. And I also do it because, you know, there's no one else on the committee that can do it. So I'm not blaming the committee. I'm just saying we need to find something else, because if I can't do it, there's a huge, huge gap. And, you know, I'm not always going to be able to do this. And that time is coming sooner rather than later. So we
Well, I
need to
think
come
to
up-
that point, then, you know, what we should try to do is have someone shadow you every time you're meeting with a vendor to help transfer that knowledge. The struggle is when the daytime, when the meetings happen in the daytime, that's where those who are working other jobs are, it's the flexibility of the schedule isn't as available. So
I hear me clearly. I understand that. But when you meet these people, they work during the daytime hours, Monday to Friday, you know?
yeah, I think they meet at like 7 in the morning sometimes. Like those might be some options. 8 in the morning, I could do stuff like that better than I can do in the middle of the day.
And I will, you know, I just was suggesting we come up with a plan that can be part of the plan. I will also say there were many times when I've been asked to share the knowledge, and I have, and people haven't, you know, it hasn't worked out. And it's not me not willing to share, which is how these conversations tend to sound to me.
That's not even close to, yeah, I wasn't inferring that at all, but I hear you, and let's try to come up with a strategy, like you said. Sounds good.
Yeah, I agree. It's not sustainable for us as a committee to have to do all the labor. And so it might be something we'll have to be more creative on, or go to Concom with a recommendation on how and what they can do to provide that project management support for us. So not a problem we're going to probably solve tonight.
I'm
But
just throwing it out there for the future.
yeah, no, I understand. All right. Anything else for the good of the order?
Not for me. Thanks for all your work and everyone's suggestions. They're great.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
yeah,
And sorry about having to throw you all off the meeting and all your help getting me back on.
Hey, it's happened to all of us. I make a motion for adjournment at 8:40. Second.
Second,
All in favor, Kevin,
Yes.
Kat,
Yes.
Freddie?
Yep.
And myself, the motion passes. Have a great evening, everyone. And thank you,
Night.
Melissa.
Good night.
Thanks, Melissa. Bye.
thank you, Melissa.